This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening and welcome to the Alpena City Council meeting of January 18th, 2022. Call to order, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Here.
Councilman Mitchell.
Here.
Councilman Nowak.
Here.
Councilwoman Walchuk.
Here.
And Mayor Walagora.
Here. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
All right, the agenda, I have a proposed modification for the agenda. I would just like to add the proclamation for the Thunder Bay International Film Festival week under 10.
So moved. Seconded.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Nope. You're on it.
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilman Nowak.
Yes.
Councilwoman Walchuk.
Yes.
And Mayor Walagora.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Count that as an approval for the entire agenda. She's gonna kill me. All right, approval of the minutes for regular session of January 4th, 2022. Any issues or changes? Citizens appearing before council on agenda and non-agenda items are allowed 5 minutes each to address your concerns. If you'd like to do so and you're live at our meeting, please come to the podium and state your name and address for our records and then address. Will? No one here? Anyone in the virtual? All right, thank you. Next is a consent agenda. Bills to be allowed in the amount of $348,179.57.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Councilman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilman Nowak.
Yes.
Councilwoman Walchuk.
Yes.
Mayor Walagora.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Yes.
Motion
Thank
carried.
you. Tonight we have a presentation, Eastern Michigan University Staff and Command Recognition. Rob Edmonds, our Deputy Fire Chief, is here for that.
Good evening, everybody. Chief Forbush has asked me to speak to you tonight as he's away on vacation with family. Tonight, it's my privilege to speak to you and formally recognize two of my peers for the recent accomplishments within the Alpena Fire Department. Community Risk Reduction Captain Andy Marceau and Shift Captain Brett Miller. Through your support of striving for professional excellence in city services to the community, the Alpena Fire Department was able to send these two line officers to the Eastern Michigan University School of Fire Staff and Command course. This course focuses on over 350 hours of instruction, 1 week a month, covering a 10-month time period. A lot of time away from family. This training covers topics of leadership, mentoring, team building, interpersonal skills, administrative responsibilities such as budgeting, grant writing, planning, technology, funding, recruitment and retention, and networking within our profession. The purpose of this course is to prepare them for career advancement into higher leadership and management roles within their organizations and to lead those organizations into the future of the fire services. Both Andy and Brett graduated near the top of their respective classes and represented the city of Alpena and the Alpena Fire Department well by their demonstration of critical thinking and participation skills to further their educational opportunity of all involved in the class. They continue to utilize the information and skills learned in this course to further benefit the operations of our department daily. They're an excellent representation of the leaders we are helping to develop for the future of the Alpena Fire Department. The Alpena Fire Department would like to formally recognize these two for their efforts and advancement in their knowledge, skills, and abilities to become better fire service leaders to better serve our great community. Thank you for your continued support of the Alpena Fire Department and congratulations to Andy and Brett.
Should we get a photo?
Yeah. A photo?
Yes. Facing this way, where are we at? That way. Rachel will take it.
Just
Just look really happy.
Smile, Andy.
Thanks.
Thank you, Council.
All right, next up is our proclamation. Again, this is the Thunder Bay International Film Festival week. Whereas the Friends of Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary was established in October 2010 to support the mission of the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary to identify, protect, conserve, and enhance the natural and maritime heritage resources, values, and qualities of the National Marine Sanctuary system for this and future generations throughout the nation. And whereas the Thunder Bay International Film Festival brought to the residents of Alpena through a joint effort of the International Film Festival and the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary, hopes to bring a larger ocean awareness and environment for interactive learning and inspiration for local filmmakers. And whereas the Thunder Bay International Film Festival will utilize the powerful form of film to communicate ocean and Great Lakes issues and bring cultural events to Alpena and surrounding communities to inspire a shared vision and of conservation of the ocean and Great Lakes environments through stunning, sometimes controversial, and always conversation-starting films. And whereas the Great Lakes region, often considered the third coast, is a vital part of global waterways, thus making global issues our issues too. And whereas the Thunder Bay International Film Festival explores water issues through some of the most impressive ocean and Great Lakes films from around the world, complemented by social events, educational opportunities, and discussions with award-winning nationally recognized filmmakers. Now, therefore, I, Matthew J. Wallagora, by the virtue of authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Alpena, do hereby proclaim the week of January 24th, 2022 as Thunder Bay International Film Festival Week. And Katie Wolf is here from NOAA.
You're live anymore.
Rachel said she would.
Do you want?
I'll get
Yeah, Rachel can take it. And then I just send it to.
Great.
So the mayor said I could say just a few words about the film festival. It is virtual again this year, but last year we found that it was an opportunity to take Alpena across the world. We had participants from all over the world literally participating, so we're looking forward to that again this year. There's more than 100 films that are available. Tickets are very, very reasonable, and so you can go to thunderbayfriends.org. It starts January 26th, and now you can watch all those films from the comforts of your home all the way through February 6th. And it's a great selection. We still have wonderful Great Lakes films as well as a lot of dramatic ocean films. So we hope you'll come out and enjoy this. Thank you. From home.
All right, report of officers. First is first reading of ordinance 22-469, an ordinance to amend the city of Alpena zoning map. And Bill has that.
This is ordinance number 22-469. It is an amendment to the city of Alpena zoning map. The city of Alpena zoning ordinance map is hereby amended as follows. Parcel located at 124 East Clark Street shall be rezoned from R2 to RT. Section 2 is a severability clause. Section 3 is a saving clause. Section 4, is the effective date. It says that this change shall take effect upon expiration of 7 days after publication of the notice of adoption. And if there's any specific questions about the property itself, I think Montiel can answer them.
Montiel, would you mind coming up and maybe just giving a quick overview of what that means for viewers or the media or anybody that.
Sure. So the property 124 East Clark Street is currently zoned, as mentioned, R2, which is a single family home zone. RT allows for duplexes. So the request is to convert this to an RT district, which would allow for a duplex at this location. There are currently There's an RM zone across the street on the corner. This is right next to the Salvation Army, which is zoned OS1. There's also duplexes that were grandfathered in, if you will, in that R2 zone. And they are duplexes registered. So there are some that are nearby as well. So it's not necessarily unique to the area. Any other questions I can answer?
I just had one quick question. There was a question about parking, but then I looked at the photographs and it looked like it was adequate.
I believe there are at least 4 spaces. Is that correct? Yes, 4 spaces are available.
Thank you.
All the questions I had were answered by the planning commission. So
Okay,
I had a
great.
chance to take a look at.
Good. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And Bill, that's first reading. You're going to bring that back to our next meeting.
Yes, sir.
All right. No other questions from
No.
council? Okay. All right. Next up is the first and second reading of ordinance 22-470, an ordinance to amend the city of Alpena zoning certificate articles 2, 5, and 7.
This is ordinance number 22-470. Section 1 provides that the city of Alpena zoning ordinance, article 2 is hereby amended to read as follows, and it has section 2.1, which is the definition section. It defines marijuana establishments for adult use, and it defines the specific types of licenses that are available. On pages 2 and 3, it lays out where they're permitted in each of the business district, office business district, commercial district, all that. It says where they can and cannot be. Section 5.26 is the use matrix, which shows all of the specific zoning classifications and then where it's permitted by special use. Section 7.1 lays out the standards for not only medical marijuana facilities, but also adult use marijuana establishments. Section 2 of that is a severability clause. Section 3 is a saving clause. Section 4 is the effective date. This would be effective 7 days after publication of the notice of adoption. We normally would not do first and second readings, and council does not have to approve this today. We don't feel comfortable doing so. If there are any changes, obviously we'd have to bring it back for second reading. The intent of doing it as a first and second reading is council has already passed the medical marijuana and adult use marijuana ordinance. That's set to take effect 7 days after publication. We held off on publishing that until zoning classifications put in, that we didn't have a situation where somebody applied for a license prior to zoning map being amended. So that's why we're holding off on it. But the intent would be, if this is passed, then we would publish both of these at the same time. Effective date would be somewhere around February 1st. We've already had some inquiry as to when the effective date would be and when people can actually come in and apply for a license. So this would just put them on the same time frame. If you decided to bring it back for second reading, it would just move that date back a couple weeks. It wouldn't change anything drastically, but like I said, the reason we wanted to bring them together was to try to get the other ordinance in effect around February.
All right, seems reasonable.
I don't see any issues.
Yeah. No, other than the language that's been added, so no.
So I move we adopt ordinance 22-470. Second.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Councilman Nowak,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wolchak,
Yes.
Mayor Walagora.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Hey, thank you.
Twice.
Thank you for all that work that went into that from staff, for sure. Next, we have communications and petitions. First up is the Huron Humane Society semi-annual report, and Mary Eagan is with us.
Hello, everyone. We meet again. Hi.
So I'm Mary Eagan. I'm the Vice President of the Huron Humane Society. I've served in that role for, gosh, maybe about 4 years or so. This is our 2021 report, kind of an overview of how we did last year. Huron Humane Society in operation since 1982. This is a big anniversary for us. It's Alpena County's only licensed and registered animal shelter dedicated to finding loving homes for hundreds of Alpena's homeless, abandoned, abused, broken, neglected, and unwanted domesticated canine and feline populations. It's important to note that while the Alpena County Sheriff's Department operates a small shelter at the fairgrounds, that's really is the only other licensed and registered animal shelter in the county, according to the state of Michigan. Its main purpose for doing so is to contain roaming dogs and preserve living evidence in animal criminal cases. They are a governmental entity and we are a private nonprofit. So it's very different, and we take our responsibility to the animals of Alpena County and the surrounding areas very seriously. So intake adoption numbers for the Huron Humane Society last year, just in the city of Alpena alone, 452 cats. That was down a little from 2020, thank goodness, and 80 dogs. That's up from 2020, but just a little bit. So that was a total of 532 animals that the Huron Humane Society took in last year, just from the city of Alpena. And of course, animals from the city of Alpena are given priority admission into HHS because of the service contract that HHS has with the city. This is especially pronounced during kitten season, which is coming up when the city of Alpena kittens and cats jump felines from other geographic areas on the HHS cat waiting list. 302 kittens from the city were taken in by HHS this past year alone. That is down just a little bit from 2020. So a total of 19 animals came to HHS from other jurisdictions beside the city, for a total dog and cat intake last year of 469 cats and kittens and 82 dogs and puppies. That's 551 animals that were serviced by the Huron Humane Society last year. Adoptions, 68 dogs and 435 cats were adopted in 2021. It's a total of 503 animals that found loving homes last year because of HHS. Of the 503 adoptions last year, 496 of them were from people from the city of Alpena. So that definitely is our biggest human constituency at the Huron Humane Society. We are very, very careful with every penny that is donated to us. In 2021, we took in 551 animals, as I said, and spent $269,584, meaning each animal cost about $489 to care for. It's important to note that HHS took in $314,467 in revenue in 2021. Now, I will tell you that of that 269,000, 38,000 was in veterinary costs alone. So we did not scrimp on the health care that the animals needed at the shelter. We did a lot to invest in the veterinary and structural health of HHS by working on cleaning up the yard there. That doesn't sound like much, but it is a huge job that made a big difference to the look of the shelter grounds and the well-being of the animals. Redid the maternity room at HHS, creating a less stressful, quieter environment for expectant and new mothers in which to rest. We teamed up with Clark Construction to remodel our adult cat colony. The room was stripped down to the studs and rebuilt to create sturdier catwalks, more easily walkable floors and walls. And we even now have a television that was donated that plays stimulating videos for the cats all day. It's very funny to walk by the room and look in the window and you see cats just staring up at the television, kind of like little children. Gives you pause about television and yeah, anyway, so that's a whole other discussion. So we continue to work on educating our employees to do more testing with our IDEX equipment for the health of our animals. That means that we don't have to send out samples, stool samples, blood samples, all sorts of samples that nobody wants to deal with, but we do. And we can do those in-house, and that is a great savings. We worked with Alpena Community College's Manufacturing Technology Club. They have been a great partner to the Huron Humane Society to improve the doors of our dog kennels. Again, that doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is, and it makes a big difference in our ability to better clean those areas. The club also helped fix a kennel to make it safer for the smallest kittens to live and play in, and revamped 3 small stainless steel kennels to create 1 large kennel for large litter kittens that come to the shelter. So having demonstrated our continual commitment to fiscal, ethical, and humane responsibility and action over the years, the Huron Humane Society respectfully asks for continued funding and the renewal of its contract with the city of Alpena. Now, if HHS were to bill the city the $489 that it costs us to care for each of the 532 animals we took in from the city last year, the bill would be a little over $260,000. It's important to note that the $489 per animal includes testing for common infectious diseases, flea and tick treatments, and preventative, heartworm preventatives, all standard age-appropriate vaccinations, socialization, care, and feeding, any needed veterinary care while the animal is at the shelter, spay-neuter surgery performed by Alpena County Veterinary Clinics. It's a great deal. The services HHS is able to provide because of generous donors and funding from our service contract with the city benefit public health for animals and humans alike. We're honored to contribute to the health and happiness of so many Alpena pets and the families that they eventually join. The Huron Humane Society requests the same amount of funding by the city of Alpena as was agreed upon last year. For this price, the city is covering $37.59 of the $489 that costs HHS to care for each of the 532 animals the society took from city residents in 2021. That $37 and change barely pays for the first round of testing and preventative treatment each animal receives. It does not cover the spay-neuter services, the veterinary visits and care, vaccinations, the cost to employ professional animal care technicians to humanely care for the homeless companion animal residents of Alpena, the society's insurance, maintenance, or utility costs. To put it further into perspective, the average cat spends 26 days at HHS before being adopted, which works out to about $18 a day. Funding from the city covers about 2 days of care per cat. The average length of stay for a dog at HHS is about 7 days, which means it costs about $69.85 per day to care for a dog. Funding from the city doesn't even cover 1 day of care for a dog at HHS. So funding for $20,000 is a good bargain for the city of Alpena and would be put to responsible use by the Huron Humane Society. Lastly, I just want to thank the city so much for valuing humane best practices for managing the homeless, unwanted, neglected, and abused animal problem in the city of Alpena. We at HHS are so grateful for our strong relationship with the City of Alpena Police Department in particular, which periodically brings us animals needing our services. We are truly appreciative of our relationship with the city, and thank you for your commitment to the health and well-being of the domestic animal population of the city. We know they don't vote, but their owners do and animal lovers do. And on behalf of those animal lovers, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
I will receive and file that.
I move we receive.
Second. I got you.
Put your hand over your mouth.
Councilwoman Wolchak,
Yes.
Mayor Walagora.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
Yes.
and Councilman Noah.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next up is the Target of Alpena semi-annual report. Mike Mahler is here, Economic Development Director.
So thank you, everybody. Good evening. I remember last time I was here a year ago, I went after her and I was like feeling so sheepish because she does such a great job. And then I come up here and mutter my way through this. Anyway, I think she deserves a raise though. Just my 2 cents. So in spite of, I know you've read my report, so I'm not going to read the whole report to you today, although I know I came to you a little bit late. Thank you for the indulgence. I'll just touch on a few things. Obviously, in spite of COVID, things are kind of back to normal in terms of developmental activity. There's so many things going on in our community. And so I'll focus on more on the things happening within the confines of the city itself. We had 6 lots. Target owns 6 lots within the city on Commerce Drive. We sold 4 of them last year, and we've got 2 left. Those 2 were earmarked for the Fish and Wildlife potential lease, but the Office of GSA determined it was too close to the quarry. So they pushed it back, and the developer said that won't work for us. And so Target's got that back. We will have no problem selling those lots. So hopefully we get some action on the lots that we've sold. I know one of the parties that bought it had health issues, and that's kind of delayed their project. And the other one, I'm not quite sure what's happening, but at least the lots are committed now at this point. With respect to North Industrial Highway, I was here a couple of months ago, I think a few meetings back, talking about purchase agreements. Those 3 purchase agreements are in place right now, all been executed. We've got the bids for the leases for Fish and Wildlife are all in place by January 6th. So now it's just a matter of time of figuring out which of the bidders is successful and potentially which parcel they may end up on over on North Industrial Highway. But then the DDA, we didn't create, I'm involved, been involved with the DDA for a lot of years now. We did, we created a program last year with the change of ownership of the mall. We brought a few mall tenants into the DDA. They had great years. Of course, we added a social district last year, which I know you were all very much involved with, and appreciate that. The only negative commentary I ever got through that whole process was the garbage cans were a little full at times. But beyond that, I think we hit a home run there, at least initially. So thank you for your support of that. With respect to the APC site, I've got a purchase agreement in place to buy that property. They have 6 months to do due diligence. 6 months expires March 28th. To potentially put a Fairfield hotel in place. As I know right now, the geotechnical survey results were in. Those were delivered in December. And so the architect and the developers are working with their consultants to try to figure out total cost to build this thing. In the meantime, we've also worked to secure an Eagle grant potentially for that site, which will help bridge the gap. And so, I guess I will leave this with, if we get to March 28th and they do close on the property sale from Target, that's a pretty good sign that there's going to be a hotel sitting there. So keep our fingers crossed. They've been wonderful to deal with, very professional, and definitely very focused on this project. Former Habitat site, that's new in my report here, but a developer did buy that property where the Habitat used to sit. And so they've got some ideas that they're exploring here. And all those ideas that they've shared with me excite me greatly. I would love to, but of course I have no control over what they do because it's not my money, it's theirs. But at the end of the day, they've reached out to me because of my position on the Brownfield Authority. For that, that's a dirty site. There's definitely contamination there. It's got to be dealt with. So if there's a project there to move forward, it'll probably require Eagle's involvement, certainly the Brownfield Authority's involvement. And but it's such a nice big lot, and that's right on our main street. The DDA is contemplating potentially expanding our boundaries. We're looking to the north side, going further down 2nd Avenue, go further up Chisholm Street. If we were to do that, that would work well for this developer because then that'd bring the property into the DDA district, which makes securing funds to the MDC just a little bit easier. So again, it's something that's top of my mind here. Jeff Konchak, working with him on a lot of different things. I'm glad that he's reached out to us just to kind of talk about some of the things he's got going on, the theater and the other theater and the Vaughan department store. I got a chance to tour that. He spent a lot of money inside the Vaughan tearing it out, and he's got a lot of great ideas for it. And I, for one, be really excited when those come to pass. Be again, wonderful for our downtown, wonderful for our community. I did mention Fish and Wildlife here. Again, just we'll find out here pretty quickly who the successful bidder is with that. And my hope is, and I don't know if I got a chance to see one of the renderings from one of the developers here. Is beautiful. If that particular developer were to get that project, it's a LEED, which is kind of a state-of-the-art technology construction, many millions of dollars. So if you were to turn off a 23 coming from north or south, doesn't matter. That's the first thing you see back there. It'd look really nice, I'll tell you. And that would just, I think, further spur interest in that the rest of that 94 acres that sits over there. So anyway, I'm very hopeful that will be the winning location. And then outside the city, I've mentioned all these TJ Maxx, Marshalls. I'm not going to touch on those unless you have specific questions. I'm glad to see the Starbucks is in steel now and going up, and the urgent care, as part of it. So that does excite me. And I will mention that the CRTC did get funded. It's in the budget, $23 million fifth generation hangar there. Talked to the Colonel Rossi here just a couple weeks ago, and I said, so when do you expect to get started? He goes, this spring. Shovels will be in the ground this spring. We just got to select the contractor. All the design work is done. And we know the potential to bring, right now we're kind of relegated to older generation aircraft. If we can start bringing the new stuff in here, obviously it just means a lot more training opportunities for this community and brings a lot more visitors here. So I'm really excited about that. Very grateful. I won't talk on the DCIP program. We didn't get the Stillwell support we were hoping for through the DSIP program, but I know city staff, Steve is working on another alternative there potentially to help that. And so we'll keep our fingers crossed. And then maybe the last thing I'll mention is the MEDC, Michigan Economic Development Corporation, has a new program called RAP. We've got $100 million to distribute statewide to help with economic development as a means to offset some of the potential effect of the COVID pandemic has had on communities. And so right now I'm in collaboration with the city, with Montiel, with Rachel, on we may pursue a block of those funds, which might make the most sense so that we have them for this area. So that $100 million, I'm not sure how much money we would pursue. Maybe 5 million is just a good round number. But if we were to do that, then we would have a little more control and make sure that some money ends up in this region on various projects. And between Rogers City and Alpena, which I cover both areas, 5 million would get eaten up quickly. There's a lot of projects out there that I think would certainly be in competition for this fund. So again, I'm mentioning this here is because it's certainly something that would involve the city if Target were to pursue this funding for this RAP program. And then I guess just the last thing I'll mention is the governor just formed a new office called the Office of Rural Development to focus eyes on communities north of 55, northern Michigan, UP. We just don't get the resources up here and the attention up here that maybe the places like Oakland County and south of here, Grand Rapids area, certainly get. And there's a recognition of that. And so they formed this new office that's going to be under the auspices of MDARD. And now they're looking for an executive director to run this office. But I was on a kickoff call here a couple weeks ago, and it's a small group, but there was a governor, and one of the faces on the screen was the governors there talking about this. And so I'm excited that it may eventually lead to just more time and attention to help us deal with some of the challenges we face as rural communities in northern Michigan. So with that, I will be quiet and just ask if there's any questions anybody has of anything in my report.
I have no questions. I do have a comment. One of the things that's really neat to see in the committee is how hard Mike puts the focus not only on the city, but there is, as we always say on the committee, there's one Alpena. He reports to what we do in the city, but the county and the townships and everything else, we're all coming together. The focus that I have seen and the vision I had when I first got elected was Alpena would not only lead the region, but we would really get some recognition from the downstate areas. And with Mike's help and leadership, we really have. I think a lot of these committees that we're now getting focus on from the state is because of all the work that Target economically has done for this area. So it's a great investment for us. And, I'm proud to serve on the committee, and I'm proud of the work that we're doing. And I'm very excited for the future. So.
Yeah, I appreciate those words, Mike. I know that at some point, I never really did stand up and ask the city for your continued support. It goes without saying. We do obviously appreciate the funding you do so that I could do what I do. And I think you get it back in spades, frankly. So again, I do thank you for those nice words. And this is really, I think I have one of the funnest jobs in this whole area. I'm very grateful to have it. And so thank you for allowing it to happen. So anything else?
No, I don't have any questions, Mike.
Okay, great. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. That's it, sir.
I move for receive and file Target's report.
Support.
Thanks.
Mayor Walagora.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson. Councilman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilman Noah.
Yes.
Councilwoman Wilczek.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Seeing nothing else, sir, I move we adjourn.
Okay.
Just like that.
And just like that. It was an easy.